Super excited to have you here, Kavita. First of all, we all know like ConsenSys is this 1,200 a huge blockchain company that's distributed around the world. Do you want to explain a little bit to us, like how does ConsenSys, what do ConsenSys Venture do, and how does that actually have synergies with other part of the Ethereum ecosystem?
Sure. First of all, thank you so much for having me back. Every time I come to HBS, I'm very scared. I feel like either they will ask me to pay the rest of the amount which I never paid, or I'm going to get some sort of a detention. I think one correction in my introduction which I want to make is Andrew Keys, whom you must have heard earlier, runs ConsenSys Capital, and I run ConsenSys Ventures. So he runs the hedge fund part of it, and I run the private equity. So coming back to the ConsenSys question, I think it's $1 million question because I think everybody asks me how ConsenSys run. And it is such an experiment on decentralized work environment and non-hierarchical form that even we don't know how does it run. There's too many things happening at ConsenSys. But in a nutshell, ConsenSys has 4 main pillars. One is the venture studio, where they incubate projects. The second one is solutions, which is their advisory group, consulting advisory. The third is ConsenSys Academy, which runs a lot of courses. And the fourth is ConsenSys Capital. Under Capital, we have 4 main arms. One is our fixed income product and trading bit, which Andrew Keys handles. The second one is digital asset group, where we do a lot of tokens and like token economy. The third is diligence, and the fourth is ConsenSys Ventures. In ConsenSys Ventures, we started almost closer to 2 years now. And the idea was to do both equity and token investments into projects and go pre-seed, seed stage. We go all the way to Series A, haven't done Series B yet. And we do follow-ons too. So anything and everything across Ethereum blockchain or blockchain agnostic.
I see. So do you back all the venture studio projects, or it's like different?
I mean, the venture studio is already, on the cap table, ConsenSys is already big, so it doesn't make sense for ConsenSys VC to go because they incubate internally and we want more external strategic partners. So far, ventures have not invested into any of the in-house venture studio projects.
Interesting. So I guess the other question is, let's talk about Delta, right? Because Ethereum has been around for a long time. ConsenSys has also been operating in this space longer than many of the institutions around. What are the key changes you are seeing in the market right now, and how are they affecting how you develop your investment thesis?
Oh, I'm so happy to be in 2019 than 2017. Because I can't tell you the type of projects which used to come and you had to spend 40 minutes and thinking like, what the hell am I doing here? People were just crazy. They were token on dog poo, which I had to spend an hour on. And I was like, I'm not even a pet person. I don't know, why do you want to take dog's poo and then put it on Ethereum, and what sort of information people want to get, and then you have tokens, and then they were able to raise $5 million from Asia also. So I still didn't get who other people invest in those projects. I think the biggest change from the investment space is the projects are way more matured. They are thought through. And most of the time, the projects which are raising money in this market are the projects which has strong team, really good ideas, and at least a good opportunity to stick to that project, not disappear after the token sale and actually build something. So this is the true entrepreneurship which is coming now. Like, I am so happy that this market has matured itself. With respect to technology and also entrepreneurs. You see a lot of serial entrepreneurs coming into the space. You see ex-Google, Facebook, Uber, Goldman Sachs people coming and building products which market really needs. And people don't come anymore and say, hey, we're doing tokens and we already have $30 million and we just started yesterday. I think, thank God that phase is over.
Yeah, that's very good to hear. Even in this bear market, things are actually getting stronger fundamentally. I read on your blog ConsenSys right now have like more than 50 different projects. How many portfolios do you have right now, and who are the most important ones who's pushing the frontiers that you are most proud of?
So ConsenSys Venture Studio have over 58 projects. And I think right before me, you had Sophia, who is the co-founder of Kaleido, one of a very, very important project to us and a breathtaking project from ConsenSys. I think ConsenSys has done a really good job of doing a lot of infrastructure project. If anybody is a coder or a developer in the room, they would know that MetaMask, Truffle, and Infura are pretty much the backbone of Ethereum today. So without those three projects, you don't probably even go and code if you're doing it on Ethereum. So I think ConsenSys has done a great job of building the infrastructure and then providing different options, private blockchain, public blockchain, verification, identity, etc. On the venture side, we have 18 companies in our portfolio. Those companies are from fintech world to scalability solutions to networking layer, etc., etc. I think it's been very interesting, even for me and my team, to see which project over last year and a half have matured into bridging the gap of a different market than what we thought initially, and which projects have survived this whole market and gone stronger. So for an example, one of the projects we invested is Unicorn Gold, which was the esport betting tokens when we invested in 2017. And when the craziness was happening in 18, most of our financial people said, like lawyers and everyone, that this is the project which is not going to survive. And the esport betting, online casino, financial predictive markets actually came out way more stronger than a lot of other things. So the project which we were thinking on our valuation, maybe we should just like write it down, actually ended up giving us really great return. So it's very, very interesting.
So just for the sake of making this more provocative, and let's talk about failures too. So what are some like, because VCs all fail, right? In some cases.
No, I'm perfect.
So what have you reflected and felt like you could have done differently, or the project could have been doing differently through the past investment experiences at ConsenSys Venture?
Actually, there's one project, and you would relate to it, Sarah. It's decentralized scalable database, which we invested in. I'm not going to name up the project. It was in stealth mode. The founders are from Google and Uber, very, very strong team. They had like 20 patents under their belt. Like, I remember they walked in and we heard the pitch, and like within the first meeting, I was like, okay, the question is how do we structure? The question is not to understand more. These guys can do it. And for the longest time, I thought that this is one project which is going to give me like 8x return. And then that project shut down and they disappeared.
Well, what's the problem?
The problem was that the founders couldn't agree. They were just too good for each other.
So it's a team problem.
Yeah, it's a team problem. But like, you know, how much of team dynamics as an investor do you think of when you are investing? And we did do that analysis very recently, unfortunately, and I had this team call with all my team, and I'm like, what didn't see? Like, where did we miss? And we were very surprised because they both were coming from same regional background. They both were coming from same company. They both had worked together for a couple of years. They knew each other. So like all the tick marks which you think of in your diligence as a team, we did that. What we didn't see coming is like they both were so technically strong that they just could not agree on what is a good efficiency and to move on to the next thing. And at some point, ego came and went, and whatever happened, and the project just got shut down. And then we went back and it said, hey, so do you want to just give us the project because we really believe in the technology? Yeah. Can we just acquire it? I mean, like, can we just acquire it? And do you guys want to be advisor and help us build the team and ConsenSys can absorb it? And that basically, that conversation on the call made me realize what didn't work between them. And so I think any investor around the world, when they invest in a project, they of course think they're investing in a project which is going to be, they have done their diligence, they expect the project to be successful. But what would go wrong is you never know.
I see. So another similar question that I actually got from the audience before I come to the stage is people curious about what happened to your ICO investment. Did you do any of those? What's going on with them?
How many people works at SEC here? No, we did. We had 4 utility token investments in our total portfolio. We actually stopped doing utility tokens starting from February last year itself because our legal team was working very closely with SEC and they could already see that it has to go through a lot of legalization. Out of those 4, I think all of them are still active. As much as we know, our last financial valuations, 2 of them have done pretty well. They have become very stronger. 2 of them are struggling to figure out what is the right way under the new SEC guidelines to have the financial liquidity, whether it's creating notes, whether it's staking. And so they are in the process of figuring it out.
Sure. And also, you were the award winner for UN's Social Finance Innovator. So when you came into the industry, you must have seen a lot of impact blockchain could bring to the world. How is the industry living up to the expectations so far?
That's the loaded question. I think my reason of moving to blockchain, I was doing frontier tech investments before joining ConsenSys for Eric Schmidt Family Office. And my reason was that there was an identity solution by UNHCR on the border of Turkey and Greece, which got me really interested to understand. And also there was a project at MIT Solve which got me very excited to understand more. So I was introduced to the technology from the impact lenses, whether it's identity, whether it's taking out the middle people for the art community, whether it's the supply chain efficiency and adding the human right layer of seeing like what were the human working conditions in different factories when you do track supply chains using different IoT solutions. So my introduction to the technology was from the impact lens. And as we continue to invest, it would be wrong of me to say that each and every investment which we have made has huge impact lens to it, but we have tried to stay very close to where the team is coming from. Joe is coming from that lens to try to see if there is a project which has come to our desk which has a huge impact and may not have the same type of return expectations. We always figure out a way to do it. So even in the accelerator which we launched last year, Tachyon, we have a social impact track. And we had a company which actually got some grant from Harvard, I don't know under what, and Tetrise, which is to take all the artifacts from all over the world and put it on blockchain so that you can take out the whole mafia out. So,
besides teaching at Stanford, you are also writing a book with MIT, and it's coming out, I heard. Want to talk to us about your new book that's co-authored with Sandy at MIT Media Lab?
Oh, too early. I actually didn't write that book, but me and Sandy have chapters with our interviews in that book. The book is Transhuman Code.
What does that mean?
I know it's a buzzword to get investments. We just thought like blockchain is done, AI is done, VR is done, what's next to do? No. So what we have realized is we always talk about EQ, when we talk about human changes, what people have to adopt to these new technologies and the behavioral changes. So what is going to be, we talk about future of work. We talk about investments in future of work, investments in future of play, in future of living, etc., etc. How is that going to look like for the next generation, starting from their education to the type of a job, to type of housing, to type of air they're going to breathe, to their type of activities, even the type of games they're going to play? Like when I was growing up, we had board games and we had outdoor games. Now all my nieces and nephews play something on their cell phones and laptops. And so how is that going to change our behavioral pattern? And is that behavioral pattern going to create more opportunities for new industry and evolution to come? So it's basically going a 360-degree view of different parts of human behavior, both with respect to macro and micro environment we're going to live in. So we have different chapters in it. We have transhuman code for future of work, future of environment, blah, blah, blah. And I did a chapter on future of innovation, and he did on, I think, AI and environment. So it's going to be out official. We did launch it in Davos, myself, Sandy, and Beth Porter. And I think we're going to do a big launch on June 4th, and it's going to be available on, we did a deal with all the airports, so hopefully all the airports going to cover it next to some scandalized book or something.
And blockchain is playing a big role in that future you guys imagined?
I really hope that after 5 years, there is no panel on blockchain, there is no conversation on blockchain, there is no investment fund on blockchain. Because today, as we see, there is no investment fund on TCP/IP.
That's true.
There is no conversation of, hi, what do you think about internet? You know? So blockchain was always supposed to be an infrastructure layer, which is just a part of, like, part and parcel of everything you use. And digital currency is going to be equivalent of, like, now we don't have fintech platforms talking about, wow, you send money using text messages from one phone to another phone. So I think it's just going to be de facto of using your platform.
So it's going to be water and air in the future.
I hope so, in a good way, the clean water and air, whatever we can say.
Sure, yeah. Let's take some questions from the audience then.
Thank you for your time. I'm interested in your view about the conflict of interest between ConsenSys Ventures and the capital section. And the capital section.
So ConsenSys Venture is under ConsenSys Capital. So ConsenSys Capital is basically anything to do with the financial stuff, and ConsenSys Ventures is one of the vertical under Capital. And as I said, we are 4 verticals within ConsenSys Capital. So there is no conflict of interest out there.
But as a startup, for example, that you would be interested in investing in, there's a risk that you go into ConsenSys, and ConsenSys has the resources to actually develop anything under Ethereum in any way.
Oh, you're talking about labs. So labs is separate than ventures.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So you have ventures, capital, and labs.
So capital is a big umbrella, and the only investments in startups from capital is just us. So the only 2 pieces are labs and ventures. And I think it really depends upon entrepreneurs. See, there is no idea which there is not going to be a competition. So I cannot give this in written that, oh, you are working on identity, somebody else won't work on identity. What really matters is, how do you look at that problem? What's your approach of solving it? What is your team? And when you go through ventures, you also take external investments from 10 other places. So far, historically in labs, you incubate project. So you come with an idea and you start working on it as soon as you enter ConsenSys Labs. For ventures, we want to see your MVP. We want to see who are the other people coming in the round. So it's very different. And also we have big Chinese walls between labs and ventures, including even the legal team and the financial team. So apart from Joe, there is no overlap. Like, I have no idea which project labs pick.
And do you only focus on Ethereum technologies, or like any kind of...
Ethereum and blockchain agnostic platforms.
So you can invest in any kind of protocol or any kind of... does it have to be Ethereum?
It has to be Ethereum, yeah.
It has to be Ethereum.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? One last question, maybe?
All right.
Thank you. So I like the Sarah mentioned at the beginning is like some failures, right? So I feel like I like failures because we can learn from that and we will not make same mistakes again. There's a famous ICO last year, Civil. We talk about the refund and the rumor said is 82% of the token was bought by either you or Andrew. So I want to my question is, as an insider, what's your view on this kind of the ICO failure? What kind of insight you learned from this case, and how can we don't make same mistake again and make the ecosystem better? Thank you.
So let me clarify on the rumor. I can 100% sitting here can guarantee you neither Andrew or I have any civil tokens. So, so let's put that rumor to rest. I think the media, especially the blockchain media, is just running the machine over time. So that said, I don't want to specifically talk about Civil because Ventures is not an investor in Civil. I don't know anything more than what I would hear from the founder, Matthew, whom I really believe in. But generally, when a project fails, I think in any industry, whether it's blockchain or not, even from a lot of projects I've invested in last 15, 16 years, is if the entrepreneurs are strong, they will pivot. Most of the successful companies today, what we have, who are unicorn, have pivoted once or twice already. So if Civil really did not work for whatever they thought they were doing, I think the team is so strong that they're going to pivot and figure out what didn't work and what's going to work out there, or a lot of other projects. I think, and apart from the founders, it's also like sometimes you are ahead of the time. So you launch something and the market doesn't accept the way you take it, so you go back and give market what they're ready, and then keeping an eye on when to change the game. I remember when I saw the Twitter deck very early on. I was a junior partner at that time when the Twitter deck came on my desk, and I was like, this is never going to work. So within I didn't spend more than 15 minutes on that. I remember Biz, after a long time, calling me out on a very big party. But I really thought it's not going to work. I'm like, people are writing blogs. Why are you limiting my voice on the words? And today I'm a very big user of Twitter. So, but they also changed a lot from what their initial deck was, and that's the beauty of the entrepreneur. So I really believe that things haven't really failed till you really shut down the shop. So, or maybe as an investor, I have that last hope of getting my money out. I'm not sure. But yeah.
Can I add one last question?
No.
And thank you. Just add 2 minutes. I think this is for both Kavita and Sarah. I think Sarah has been very nice to moderate the conversation. And both of you have this either entrepreneurship or investment experiences. I just could not help noticing that these are 2 women who are standing here, and we really do not have many women in the audience. So I pose a question to you. Do you think that as female founder and influencer in the space, was there any challenge, or there wasn't really a challenge? And if there was challenge, how did you overcome it? Was it unique to be a female leaders in the space?
Want to go first?
No, start.
So it's actually funny that you ask, because when I graduated from Kennedy School, my thesis was social media strategy for female political candidates. So actually, I grew up not really thinking from the perspective that's gendered for myself, because I feel like that's not the first identity I will take on, feeling that I'm a woman in this or that. But through that study, I did realize there are perceptions that you have to deal with, maybe similar to other type of identities you hold, specifically for being a woman. So people expect you to present more qualifications. it's not that people held like it's not people is against your discrimination of some sort, but people do tend to listen to you more when you actually present to them factual qualifications, and that's the empirical finding that I got from my study, and I do try to apply that when I come across people. So that's kind of my 2 cents. How about you? You are the one out of the 2 partner level and above investors in the crypto investment space.
What is a panel level and above quantification?
Huh?
What is a panel level and above quantification? We will get drinks on that later. I think just not about women, but just being different in a room is difficult. It's a combination of you think you're different because you suddenly see around, whether it's the color of your skin, whether it's where you're coming from, or whether it's being a woman, like whatever is the difference. If you stand out in a room, I think the part of consciousness is in your head, and the rest just like getting used to the way you communicate, the way you are putting your things on the table, and how you're going to react to it. It's very interesting. I was the only trader on the World Bank trading floor for a couple of years, and I did not feel different because that is just the way it was. So till a lot of conversations didn't really start happening, in my head, that is just the way you do it. And so I did not think that how much extra effort I was putting in, because I just thought that's the part and parcel of surviving in that space anyways. Now when I look back, I was like, oh, to be on the trading floor at 6, I had to wake up at 4:30 because I also had to do my makeup and I had to dress up and I had to do my hair and I had to wear heels and like move from meetings to meetings and this. And then I had to go to like, being a vegetarian, I had to go to all these steak dinners with the clients, which I had to go hungry on, and like, but I did not think of saying, oh, can we change it? Because I thought I had to fit in. But I think, thank you for your question, because these conversations are very, very important. Today, I feel like everyone is very conscious of generalizing or not asking. Like in my last couple of years, both during when I was doing my startup and then my VC world or today, somehow people nowadays have started underlining it from, oh, this is different to now this is privilege sort of a thing. And they're like, oh, we have only one women member on the board. Let's start with her. And I'm like, I don't know, I should be proud or you need more women on this board. But at least people have started underlining it, which is very good. But I still want to say one thing. California recently passed a sort of a rule that there should be minimum percentage of women on the board, which I always say I'm not 100% sure I agree with them.
So you are becoming Europe in California. That's good news.
Yeah, but I don't want to be on the board just because they want to fill in women.
Yeah, I understand, yeah.
If they do that in education institute, then I will agree with, because then they will end up giving scholarship to a lot of women and they will go up. But I don't want to be on the board where the founder is like, oh shit, I need a woman, just get her in.